All right, welcome everybody. Just getting all our stuff pulled up here as we got more and more people joining in uh, for today's session. Um, it's been a wild few weeks in AI, especially in the Anthropic world of AI, which I know I have users of both Anthropic systems and ChatGPT systems in these webinars. So I'm gonna talk a lot about Claude today. That's been in the news quite a bit, and I kind of wanted to just, sift through a lot of that, kind of expose what's just been marketing hype and what they're known for versus what's actually been happening here as far as are these new models really like life-changing like these headlines say they are, and stuff like that. So yeah, we got more and more people joining here. Hey, Cliff, Ben, Jim, Jeff, Eric, as always, good to see you. Cool. So we'll kind of like start talking here. And if you guys have any questions about this stuff, please let me know. We had 270 people register for today, so pretty cool. If any of you guys will be at the AGC of America tech conference coming up, I think it's the August 2nd through the 5th or 6th. I will be speaking and hosting a basically a discussion or a presentation at the AGC conference coming up at the beginning of next month. So it's in Minnesota. If any of you guys are going to be in Minneapolis for that, please, reach out to me. It'd be cool to meet you guys in person. Come by my session and we can chat. We're going to be diving into and kind of um, un unveiling, I guess, what Wendy has been doing. We're going to basically just do a case study and talk a lot more about it and maybe how somebody else could build it out. Lars, my co-founder at Contracts Connected, is going to be coming with me as well. And it's his construction company that we're running this in. And none of his superintendents or project managers or anybody like that or AI experts, but they're using this agent every single day, and it's pretty cool. So we're gonna be basically showing a bunch of screenshots from that stuff. I'm not sure if AGC records those sessions or not, but I will be flying out there to speak for them. So pretty cool. Alrighty, so let's get into today. Fable 5 for construction. What's hype? What's the truth? What's going on? I'm going to talk about the back office. As you guys know, I live, eat, sleep, and breathe the construction's back office due to Contracts Connected and what I'm building every day with AI. But anything that I'm talking about today, I'm going to do my best to talk about it in a way that it could apply to project managers, it could apply to anybody at the construction organization. So let's get going here. This is basically built to cut through the noise surrounding the new Fable AI model. We're going to explore its release, real capabilities, how it directly impacts construction. And one unique thing with this before I get in is Anthropic actually isn't giving us this as part of any of our subscriptions. Yes, they have given it to us so far in our subscriptions, but after today, so that's why I wanted to do this webinar today, is because I think you have till the end of the day today to go try it. After today, you're not going to be able to really use it without paying. So they're basically just taking it away from all of our subscriptions, and they're going to say, "Oh, well, now you have to pay per token for this," which kind of is crazy because it consumes the most tokens out of everything. Is it that good where people are going to be paying for that? I don't know. In my opinion, I'm not going to pay for it for my team. We're going to go back to Opus 4.8, although it's it's pretty cool. Like it does a really good job. And it's better than anything I've ever seen, and it's not even kind of in the same realm of what anything I've ever seen. But at the rate that my team is using and I'm using, it would be tens of thousands of dollars every month in token credits, which we just don't want to do that. It's not, worth that. So, section one, let's talk about what actually happened. So there's two AI models. There's Mythos and there's Fable. And I'm sure you guys have seen all of the headlines and the AI news and all of this stuff about, it's saying it's too powerful, it's too good, which is Anthropic's, classic marketing technique of saying we've built something that's too good to release to the public, or it's too smart or whatever. It was released, same week. The US government said that, they needed to pull it away from anybody outside of America. And then they couldn't basically regulate that, so they just had to pull it back in general. And then, the next week they brought it back. We'll talk about the names. Mythos 5 is kind of like this raw model that they've been developing. And then Fable 5 is what they've released to the public. I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about, why they had to create a public version, whereas like Opus 4.8, it's Opus 4.8, right? But Mythos 5 is said to be too good to basically be able to hack into any security system that you could imagine. So, in order for the banking system and life as we know it to continue on, they could not release Mythos 5 because Mythos 5 would have like collapsed the banking structure and hacked everything within, hours or days. So they've basically brought Fable 5, which is supposed to be kind of a watered down version that doesn't have that kind of capability. Explaining why this model was different from prior releases. Again, it's just trained and like able to execute in more creative ways with more combinations and think longer, deeper, and try things with like think about unlocking a lock, right? So think about a combination lock. How many different combinations do you need to try in different configurations do you need to try to eventually unlock that? It takes a long time, a lot of documentation, a lot of thinking, and that's kind of what this is able to do now. So it's able to solve problems that we really never have been able to before, just because it's able to think really long and do a bunch of those kind of experiments. So yeah, we're just talking everything like last month. So we got Fable 5 on June 9th. A few days later, the US government said, you can't have this out in the general public. It's still too strong. Then on July 1st, Fable 5 came back. And this is the first model to ever be basically, we're seeing for the first time in history the government having to step in and say, stop, this is too much, it's too powerful. The public, can't, not to say the public can't be trusted, but there's some bad players out there, as always, that just can't be trusted. So let's talk about the difference. It is the same engine, it is the same underlying model that you're getting with Fable 5 compared to Mythos. But Mythos is the raw frontier model with minimal safety limits. The Anthropic team actually is using Mythos in their development. It is reserved for a small set of vetted partners, which means, hey, what they wanted to do is they wanted to give Mythos out to the people in the world that could basically say, well, if the banking system's going to get hacked and the banking system isn't secure enough, who do we give this to make the banking system more secure? So when we do want to release this to the public, it can't be hacked. So they have released Mythos with that specific, mission in mind of releasing it to the right people, so the right people can beef up, the needed security around government security, around banking, around stocks, whatever it is. Yeah, so government defense and cybersecurity, that's what you're going to see there. And then Fable 5 is what we have right now. I've been using it all day, every day this week. This exact same powerful model is as powerful as Mythos 5, but with safety guardrails enabled, and it is released for public access currently. So you can use this today if you guys have a subscription, but I would get in there and use it today. I basically reworked a few of my bigger projects that I've been working on And I had Mythos kind of go in there and audit them just because I was like, well, if I'm only going to be using Mythos for a few days, I might as well just go do like a rework or a re-audit of like my agentic AI systems. So yeah, now let's talk about why the government wanted to step in the first place. Because again, it is something that, first time in history that we're seeing. So, so researchers did find a way around safety filters, enabling it to identify, software vulnerabilities. So what this means is they basically like put safety guards on Fable 5. And then some people that were researching were able to kind of remove those safety guards and kind of access the full potential of Mythos 5. And then we have the concern was, consumer AI being turned into a cyber weapon. Anthropic quickly hardened the guardrails and proved that they were able to fix those vulnerabilities that those researchers found. And then the model was then allowed back online, demonstrating, Anthropic's whole thing is commitment to safety, commitment to, the right, ethics around this AI world. So for anybody to be able to like get in there, like they're the company that has like the right kind of moral standing when it comes to this AI stuff. You see a lot of people and researchers from other AI labs come to Anthropic specifically because Anthropic aligns with their vision of how AI should be kind of rolled out into the public. So, yeah, let's go here. So, Fable 5, basically, this is already here. It's included with all the accounts. So, if you have any of these, whether it's the Pro, Max, Team, Enterprise, it's basically the most advanced model out that we've ever seen. ChatGPT 5.5, it's arguably like substantially better, I think. And then let's talk about, what in these kind of like headlines and stuff that I've seen at least, I've thought are just kind of like, I don't think it can do that. I've tried some stuff, it's just not there yet, versus, okay, yeah, this is a substantial improvement. Just as a kind of like top level, I didn't see a substantial improvement as far as like chatting with it and working things out. I did, however, see substantial improvements in when I'm coding, for example. I'm like seeing it be able to think through the other person's point of view, like the user, and then present something that actually looks really good and well thought through rather than I'm going to run out of context window. I need to get something out. I need to code something. So I'm going to push this out, which sometimes Opus will do. So if you're thinking about, how it applies to construction, you have 10, 20, 30, 50, 70, 100-page documents. Think about a system that's being able to think, reason, rethink reason, challenge its assumptions, and then work towards that end goal versus think about it, look at it, and then need to rush to a decision. Like, do you make better decisions when you're rushed, or do you make better decisions when you're able to think through them? That's really the fundamental way to think about, something like Opus versus Fable 5. So, the benchmarks that were, set, there's no arguing with those. Those are very truthful. So you're going to see some of these tests out there that just basically match it with the same test against like ChatGPT, for example. Those are true. Those are very accurate. Then acknowledging the honest limits. So let's get into here. So the hype. It runs by itself for days. It builds a whole app in one prompt. It's the smartest model ever made. It scared the US government. Basically, we're gonna be talking a little bit about like its verified capabilities versus its, I don't know, hype. It is the first model to break 90% on the hard analytics test. This is a test that is given to all AI models, and it's kind of like a baseline. So we want a bunch of standardized tests so we can test all the models against the same tests and then have, results show us very clear indications of which ones do the best on these tests. It tries to mimic human, intelligence, artificial intelligence testing. The one problem I see with these tests is the longer that these tests exist, the more that these models are just built to get a better score on the tests. Because that's really all we want at the end of the day. They just want to show that they are the top. Fable 5 does do that. They do have the top score, high score on the leading real world coding benchmarks, as well as 50 million lines of code migrated by a real company in a single day. So these are things that go back to its first point of it runs by itself for days. So think about that, this whole kind of like talk track that I've been kind of harping on a little bit during this, where it's able to think longer, think through things, rethink through things, and do really long, tedious tasks without having to get lost or rush to a decision. It is much better at reading charts, tables, and scans nested inside of PDFs with high accuracy. So this is in an effort to solve construction's biggest pain with AI. Can't read drawings. There's all of these companies out there that are investing in drawing, like they're trying to like get these legacy models to understand drawings. Um, yes, it's something that the industry wants, but it's almost like, dude, it's only a matter of time before Anthropic's models can just do this. And I think it's like less than 6 months, before it can do it very accurately. So, whether it's worth, going and trying one of these companies now before one of the main Anthropic models can do it, questionable. You really have to just think about, okay, do I trust the innovative team with the best researchers and the best coders in the world to figure this out? Or do I trust, this, startup that wants to read drawings and submittals and stuff like that? But let's talk about the honest limits. So what's not hype? So days unattended requires a precisely refined or defined job, and you also need to create something like loops. Like it's not one prompt and then you have to come back 3 days later for it. It's not that different. If you want it to work for 3 days, great. But your tokens are not going to last more than, you're going to cap out in one session in a few hours. So it can do stuff for a really long period of time, but you need to use the proper commands and it needs to be in Claude code. This is not something that would be happening in Claude chat. And I went over all three different levels of Claude last week. We had code, then we had the middle ground, co-work, and then we had the kind of beginner level of chat. Benchmarks are lab tests. So these aren't construction documents. So like you have to kind of take them with a grain of salt. This is about general capability. And then the safety layer means some edge questions are routed to older models. So what they did is if you said, hey, I'm working on, hardening my security and I need to do this and that for cybersecurity, and you're trying to trick it into hacking something. There's certain questions within Fable 5 that will automatically default and push you down to Opus 4.8, which means that instead of it basically denying to work on something for you, all you're going to see Fable 5 do is just push you down to the next model below it. The safety layer means, yeah, okay. So the AI model is no longer the bottleneck, so processes. So I'm going to be very honest here, and this is what I'm going to be presenting on at AGC. These models are good enough to do like 90% of this like admin world that we live in construction. It can make the decisions, it can do the research, it can analyze the documents, it can cross-reference the things, it can remember everything about your company. And it's all about process. And what I was kind of mapping out today for my speech is, you need the structure first, then you need adoption from the team. You need to make sure the team gets the adoption into the structure because without structure, you can't build AI into something if nobody's going to be like consistently using it. There's no point in building it, right? And also, AI will only amplify chaos if you put AI on top of chaos. Then the team, after they adopt this structure, and AI is in this structure now, they need to be able to trust this AI. And then you can layer on some more advanced intelligence like an agent, like we're building for people at Contracts Connected. So something that can actually read an email, go take an action, download the PDF, upload it into the right place, rename the file, remind the vendor, chase this, call them, all that kind of stuff. That intelligence is kind of layered on top of that. Alrighty. So this is where construction, I think, has the biggest pain for, AI is not there yet. I see this all over LinkedIn. It's all about drawings, drawings, drawings. How do I get my AI to process my drawings better and this and that? So, reading messy PDFs. So, previous AI models did struggle with real-world messy documents. Fable 5's unique ability to accurately interpret scanned, crooked, coffee-stained PDFs is the true unlock for construction. And it says I put back office, but like this is about, estimating and stuff like that, where you guys need these drawings and you don't want it to kind of lose focus on what it's actually referring to. That is going to be something that you're going to be able to upload something into the raw Fable 5 and then start asking a question. So if you've already worked on like my previous webinars where I've trained you guys on how to build these agents and how to build these like co-work processes around estimating and GPTs even on ChatGPT, you can now have like something like Fable 5 come in, audit that, and then be the new engine for the PDF processing. And in that case, where you're just processing PDFs, once per project or something like that, or every time there's a new, 50% drawings done, you can basically, it's probably worth it for you to pay for the Fable 5 tokens, even after they removed Fable 5 from our subscriptions. So let's talk about the impact that, I think Fable 5 would necessarily have inside of a GC that's around 50 million a year. So the shift from simply answering questions to actively running processes, that's what we're seeing with, contractsconnected.com's agentic contract admin team. So this is actually running the process. We have subs, like I was just looking at the audits yesterday. Subs are like emailing back to this AI agent. They think it's a full person. It doesn't look like AI, it doesn't feel like AI. It knows about your company, it knows who it is, it has a person's name, and it's just operating like a machine. So it's running the process. It's communicating with the superintendents and the project managers that have never adopted any other freaking software before, just because it's hard to get adoption in. And they're just emailing this agent, and this agent's working like a person. The agent has the adoption on the software, so the agent's taking care of it for them and just communicating over email. Specific admin jobs, Fable 5 can now take completely off your plate, like I just mentioned. You could go into, if we have time at the end of this, a live demonstration on, COIs is kind of like this reoccurring document that I've been bringing to these webinars to kind of show for you guys. And then how the safety narrative is a feature, not a flaw for compliance. So with the safety thing about Fable 5 is guardrails, and guardrails are good for us to be able to build things in and trust them. So let's talk about transferring away from questions and transferring to processes. This is going to be some of what I'm going to be talking about again at AGC. So let's talk about this structure. So 2026 is like, if I could pick a year for it, like a Chinese calendar, 2026 in AI is the year of AI agents. It's the year of AI doing things for you, not you copy and pasting from it into other documents. So the AI basically is shifted from this single questions kind of style to comprehensive job execution. Instead of asking, what does this clause mean, you can now assign, process the 40 subcontracts I need for this specific job, and, follow up with them for all the compliance documents as part of their contract package. And then once they start on site, you need to make sure that you follow up with them for all of the remaining documentation. Running on autopilot is exactly what we've built over at Contracts Connected for this. So it's the perfect kind of bridge to talking to you guys about this. So automating key back office tasks are something that you can kind of define, But again, I talk about the back office all the time because I'm living and breathing it at our company. But you guys can apply this to any process in your organization. The one thing that I just want to caution you guys on is I've seen so many companies message me on LinkedIn, reach out to me, meet with me. If and what I'll have them do is I'll say, go make a list of all the processes that you think AI could handle. Then make a list of like organize them or sort them by, most important to the organization, creating the most value to the least. And then also do another column that's talking about how much time does this take from the organization to complete. And once you do that, it should be very clear what processes you guys need to automate. A lot of times I see it fall into the back office just because AI can do the most there. And it's stuff that just needs to get done, but it doesn't necessarily drive dollars for the organization. It doesn't necessarily drive value. It's like a necessary evil. And you just need to pick one of these processes to build the foundation because you build the foundation and you then go to the next process, then go to the next process, then go to the next process. If you try to wait for the world to come in and solve all your problems and have you bring you to this end state of AI in your company like within a day, within one system, within one integration, within one process, you're going to be waiting for the rest of your life. Like, I don't think it's ever going to be there. Like, unless these AIs are like running themselves. As long as humans are involved, we need to approach this in an iterative process. And you need to kind of like tackle one and then build from there and use that first one as the foundation to build on top of. There's no one size fits all. There's no magic formula here. You have to start with a process that feels repetitive, that does not feel like it's adding value, that takes a lot of time, that's the same clicks over and over. Start there, and then you will see the floodgates open, you will see the doors open, the window will be clear, and you'll be like, okay, well, it's going to be easy for me to decide the next thing because, I've already done this one and I just have to add a couple more things. And now it's going to be able to do these two things. And then you do the same thing, and it's a snowball effect. It just compounds on itself, and you gain that efficiency in that compounding way. So some easy low-hanging fruit. COIs, certified payroll, submittals, and vendor onboarding. Like these are all things that all you guys deal with that are completely repeatable, that can be completely automated by AI agents today. And if you think about Fable 5, and you think about hiring a new, project coordinator, if you were to let's say train a new project coordinator, how many mistakes are they going to make versus how many mistakes do you think Fable 5 will make? And I have seen, with the companies that are adopting our agent, it's making virtually no mistakes from day one. We have it get interview, have it interview like the people at the company about their process and stuff. And if it's not sure, it sends an email, so it's just like a person. All right. So basically Fable 5 is nothing new. Accord 25 forms like Opus can do this as well. But it's more about the process behind it. It's not just about reading and analyzing anymore. It's about the whole process because like I showed you guys last week, you could do chat and chat with it one time and paste in your Accord 25 forms and go from there. But that's not that that's not that advanced anymore. You guys are here because you're kind of that leading edge of construction as far as adoption around AI goes. So let's talk about the safety features that are coming out with this model and the benefit for compliance. So the government's trust in Fable 5's guardrails ensures its stability. Fewer than 5% of edge case prompts triggered additional safety layers. For compliance-driven business, predictability and won't go rogue is a critical advantage, as well as always confirm your AI vendor's data policy regarding training and ownership. So let's start. Let me just touch on these each very, very shortly. So as far as the government trusting it, yeah, big whoop. I'm not super, gonna either use it or not use it because the government likes it. But the second model, the second point here about 5% of ACE prompts triggering additional safety layers, that's that thing that I talked about where, it's gonna kick you down to Opus 4.8 if it feels like you're trying to do something that's like unsafe or something like that. So it hasn't been common for people to try, but it has been triggered, obviously. And then the third point I think is the most important, and that's for the compliance-driven businesses like construction. Predictability and won't go rogue is a critical advantage. So now we're having like safer guardrails. Your data is safer. Your information you can trust it a little bit more. And with that trust, you want to know that your AI vendor, Anthropic, isn't doing crazy things with your data. So you want to make sure that you guys are always aware of that. Anything that this AI agent is doing, any email it's CC'd on, can all be affected. All right. So let's talk about like if I wanted to build this full process agent. And I talked about this good amount last week as well. But I thought it'd be important here because I am talking about shifting away from information, shifting away from analysis, and shifting towards process. Okay. So defining the job, point the agent at the folder where all the COIs end up. Better yet, give it an email. Give the agent an email, and then forward those emails with the COIs over to the agent. Build this in Claude Code. If you guys are using Fable in Cowork, or if you're using Fable in chat, you're arguably just wasting tokens. You do not need it in those two levels. Code is really the only place where you're going to get the maximum value per token from Fable. The things that chat and Cowork are going to do, I think, in my opinion, are just too simple. And Opus 4.8 is more than capable of handling those very simple queries. All right, so building Claude Code, I showed you guys how easy it is to get over to code last week. But instruct the agent to check a certificate, build a status lift, draft the necessary deficiency emails. But the thing is you want to say, now build the system around this. Do this every day at this. Do this when a new file is uploaded here. And you are going to have to unlock, just so you guys know, reminder last week. We talked about if we're going to use code, we need to unlock some access to some folders on our computer. And that just needs to happen. So assign, let the agent process, stack them independently, review the flagged items, generate the communications, and then have your autonomy ladder built in, like I was just saying. So as you build trust, you're going to read, flag, then draft the emails, then schedule for routine spot checking. And what I do with my agents is I say, if I didn't make any edits to your document, to your analysis for the past 10 times you did it, you don't need to have me in the loop anymore. Now, after you do it 10 times, I then trust you take it on yourself. So my agents are built around that run my business. So that's how you can also do it. I want them to prove that I should trust them rather than just letting them rip from the get-go. All right. So agent in Claude Code. So basically, I'm going to show you guys after this if we have some time here. I only have 10 more minutes to get through some of these slides. And then I have a sales call. My team wants me to be on right at 11, so I might end a couple minutes early. So attended work, batch processing. The runs for days on attended claim is basically realized through clearly scoped jobs. So you can't have it basically run forever on some simple COI task. It's going to start on loops, and then it's going to do its little process, and it's going to stop until it's supposed to loop again. So running on days unattended, it demands a job big enough for that. And I don't see inside construction organizations any jobs that are big enough for that. We don't even, at my company, like the most that we run it over is overnight. Even to build out the most advanced agent that we have available for our construction organizations that are using our COI AI agent, or not even our COI AI agent. That's one thing that it can do. Our full contract admin employee agent. We took one night to build the majority of the code for that. A capable model plus clear instructions equals handoff execution. So, you don't always need this Fable 5, but Opus 4.8 would probably do for most of these. Your role shifts to reviewing output, not performing the manual work. One thing that I got stuck in is like, it was producing so much stuff that all I felt like I was doing all day was just like reviewing output, reading text, reviewing output, reading text. And I was like, giving it the green light here, giving it feedback here, giving it the red light here, delete that one, green. And it was just kind of draining. And I needed to simplify things more and build the trust, let it go, and then let's tackle this next thing. Taking my own medicine, right? Build the one thing, build the foundation, and then you can kind of iterate from there. Your role shifts to reviewing the output, and then start with batch processing, then graduate to automated schedules. Batch processing is where you go in and you trigger the AI agent to go process a folder of files, for example. Automated schedules is every Monday, I want you to process this batch of files. I run everything on schedules. They're also called loops. And I have, different loops. So one's a self-improvement loop. Go analyze everything you've done for the past 7 days, everything I've told you, every email that you've seen, and then, improve your knowledge around this, improve that. So self-improvement is one thing that I think everybody should build into their agents separate from the loop around the actual task as well. But that can all be on automated schedules. All right, so let's talk about the autonomy ladder, building trust in stages. I think this is one of the biggest things for construction. We do not trust it yet. We don't, nor should we. So, how do you build that trust? So, stage one, let's say AI reads and flags, and then you're making all these final decisions. Then we have stage two. AI is drafting things for you, but you don't want it to send out emails for you because you don't want it. It doesn't write like you. And then stage three, AI runs on a schedule. You perform spot checks. And the key things here are between these stages, you actually, as the kind of moderator of this agent, you need to be the one taking action here. You need to be able to say, oh, this is why you're doing this wrong, or this is why you're doing this right. And then, yeah, I just got a question in the Q&A. Can you speak more specifically about how you set it up to do self-improvements? That is where that's going to live right here. So before, it can go send on your behalf, you need to consistently be giving it feedback, right? So you're going to be working with this agent, and let's say every Monday we have our agents, for our customers, go through every vendor, go through every document you have. Which ones were expired? Which ones are we still missing? What do I need to chase down? Who do I need to chase down? And it's going to start writing those emails, and it can put it in the draft section of the inbox. And then you open it and you can adjust it and then you send it, right? So how do we make sure that agent is improving the emails that it's writing? Why are you adjusting these things? It doesn't write like me. I don't want it to write from my name because I don't write like that. And it's gonna know that like these people are gonna know I'm just like cheating with AI, right? So what you can do is in Claude Code, you can use this command. It's like a slash LOOP slash loop. Or you can literally tell it to schedule itself to do this every X amount of days. But you would give it a prompt something like this, slash loop. I want you every Monday morning to review all of the drafts that you have on record that you wrote, and then compare them to the emails that were actually sent, which ones were deleted and never sent, how I changed the ones that were sent. And then I want you to self-improve your email writing capability to be more like how I write. And do this every Monday morning and then update your documentation. It's brain or it's MD documents, as I've talked about so many times with you guys on these meetings. But it's going to go update its MD documentation, and then it should basically be improving based off its structure. So that can give you like a quick example. That's just email drafting. That's the most basic one. What about COIs? What about, negotiating contract clauses? What about, redlining things? What do we like to redline? What we don't like to redline? What we're accepting? What we won't accept? And stuff like that. So I hope that answers your question a little bit around the self-improving side of things. The bottleneck for automation has shifted from the capabilities to the process. Remember that, like, what I'm going to be talking about at AGC is structure first, adoption from the team around that structure, layering the AI in a way that your team can start to trust it, and then you build that intelligence, that automation right after. And then it's a flywheel, right? So once you have automation in one section, now you go back. What else can we structure, adopt, layer AI in a way we can trust, and then hand off to the agent to automate? And then you flywheel again. So that's basically what you need to really think about. It's like the models are there. The models can do all of the stuff that we need it to. It's just about our processes now. Firms with well-documented workflows, SOPs, will gain a significant competitive advantage strictly because structure and adoption are already done for every single stage. So you don't need to structure anything. You don't need to adopt anything. If your PMs are all doing, RFIs in their own ways, that's different, right? So now you need to structure it so AI can help them. If they're all doing it the same way, you just have to, start layering the AI in there in a way that they can start trusting it. Three actionable steps you can take this week to begin your journey is always the list that I was talking about. So define your list of things that it could automate, define the value that it brings to the organization, define the time that it takes to do that organizational task, and then that's going to be your clear path. It should have like two or three very clear things in which could be automated. And to be honest, I've seen more often than not, companies basically say chasing down the compliance documents from subs is where we got to go. And that's specifically why we've built the agents that we've built. All right. So let's talk about the process real quick. I just want to reiterate, it's all about process here, and that's going to be how you guys unlock these AI agents. That's how you guys are going to unlock the full capability of Fable 5. But the AI model can now, do everything that we need it to do. New limitation is how clearly you can define the work for it. Vague processes will lead to vague, unreliable results. So the AI is not broken at this point. Nobody can be saying that. It's us. We're not structured enough for it to clearly operate for us. That's the honest frame of mind that we all need to shift to. Before it was, I don't think it can do it. I don't think it can, it can't understand this. It doesn't have enough memory around that. It's not the case anymore. You use code, you build out your brain, you build out your MD documents like I've been telling you guys for the past 25 plus weeks, whatever. I think we're on webinar 45. That's going to be the key. Um, all right. And then, this is nothing new. SOPs, document them, right? So well-defined processes become your most valuable and defensible asset. Documenting rules allows AI agents to inherit and execute complex tasks. This creates a competitive moat that cannot be easily copied by your rivals, your competition. It also serves as a robust succession plan, capturing institutional knowledge. And then let's talk about these three steps here. So pick one painful document type, write down its compliance rules, run one real example of that document through Fable 5 by hand. So you're gonna, prompt it probably in chat just to see. And then get your AI vendors, data policy before, scaling anything. But all I wanted you guys to take away today was, Mythos and Fable 5 are the exact same thing. You can use Fable 5 now. It's in your account. Everybody should go try it today if you haven't tried it yet. The real unlocked is AI's ability to read messy construction PDFs. That's the thing that y'all have been waiting for. And give AI a job, not a question. That's where it's at now. It's finally good enough for complex tasks. And then the real bottleneck is how clearly you define your process, not the model itself. So we need to shift into that state of mind and not be blaming the models for not being able to do what we need them to do. So questions that I have been asked recently from the community is Fable 5 free? Does it cost extra? It's included in your account right now. It does not cost extra to use. You have a limited amount of usage, but today is the last day to use it. Do I need Mythos 5 and is it more powerful? You do not need Mythos 5. I don't think that it's going to be available to the public for some time. And Fable 5 is literally Mythos 5, just without the ability to hack the government. Is my data safe if I upload contracts and insurance certificates? This is a case by case basis question and answer. Depends on what you're uploading in there. I really don't see reasons not to do it unless you're, heavily regulated and you're uploading CUI. But, even on CUI projects, you can talk to your consultants and stuff like that, but uploading a certificate of insurance on a project like that, you guys can make that decision with your consultants on if you guys want to do that or not. Will this AI model replace my office administrator? Maybe sometime. We've built one. We didn't necessarily replace an office administrator. They were just, growing their team, and instead of hiring one, we built one. But they haven't needed to hire one. They have no reason to hire one now. So there's still people in the loop giving it, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, this document's fine. Or yeah, here's the answer to your question to help it. But any new employee would also be asking those same questions and probably much more, right? How is this different from older AI tools that didn't work for me? With code, you can now build the memory. The memory is the key. So Claude Code, which is very usable. Don't be intimidated by the name. You don't need to know how to code. You just need to be able to talk to it, type to it, text to it, whatever. But these will work for you. Remember, you need to shift your mindset now away from AI isn't smart enough and is my process built for this? Am I setting it up for success because it is smart enough? Um, where do I even begin with implementing this in my business? If I could tell you guys one thing to go do today is go make that list of admin tasks that you think it could do, and then do the scoreboard on, how valuable that action is for your company, and then how much time it's taken away from your day to day or your organization's day to day. And then you can basically have a very clear deciding factor on what to automate next from there. So, that is kind of the overarching kind of talking points today. I can do any more questions and answers, but I do have a sales call right at the top of the hour with a prime contractor. So I will need to jump to that. But I can stay here and answer a few questions if you guys have any. I know today was a lot of information, not necessarily like a how-to, which sometimes they do both. I think a lot of people like the how-tos, but I've been getting so many questions in my direct messages on LinkedIn about Fable 5 that I was like, okay, maybe I'll do a whole webinar on this to just answer and clear the air on some of the stuff that people have been asking me. Because it was really hyped up, and with the government shutting it down, it was hyped up even more. So, yeah, I don't see any questions rolling in. This was a more of an educational one today. We had 270 registrations, and t today was uh, yeah. I'm glad you're getting value from these. Thanks for always participating and asking questions and showing up to these, Danielle. That's awesome. And let's see. Let's see, what week was this? Oh man. Yeah, okay. So we're on week 37 now of these. I have 40 of them scheduled. So I might be sending out like a new invite if you guys want this meeting on your calendar in the future. But yeah, we have three more after this week on the books. And then we might be shifting this format and stuff like that to something else. So if you guys don't have any questions, I hope you got some value out of today. I hope you learned something. I hope you take away something from this. If you're at the AGC Technology Conference, come to my session. It's on Wednesday afternoon. I'd love to meet you in person, and we'll be talking a lot about construction and AI and construction and everything in between. So I will see you guys on the next one. Feel free to reach out in the meantime if you need anything, if you have any questions, or if you have any suggestions for things you want to learn in these webinars going forward. I do these for you, stuff I already know. So if you guys get value out of any topic, I would love to do the research around it and make it specific around something that you guys actually want to learn. So until next week, I will see you guys later. Take care, be safe, and go use some AI. Let me know how it goes. See ya.